All right. Meanwhile, acting IRS Chief Danny Werfel getting grilled on Capitol Hill yesterday as lawmakers search for more answers on why the agency targeted conservative groups. Werfel offering this explanation.
There was a fundamental failure by IRS management to prevent this inconsistent treatment and ensure that it was halted once management became aware. These failures have undermined the public's trust in the IRS's ability to administer the tax laws in a fair and impartial manner, and they must be corrected.
But was it really just incompetence or an abuse of power? Either way, our next guest says it is frightening for America. Florida Senator Marco Rubio joins us live this morning. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning.
Also, we've got this breaking news this morning that apparently the federal government, remember, the president said this would be the most transparent administration ever. Apparently, Barack Obama's administration, 10 departments have not yet released their email. They're using secret government email accounts. And the problem with that is, Senator, if they're secret, when somebody wants to look into them, like we'd like to get the IRS email accounts and stuff like that, if you don't know they're secret, you can't ask for them with a subpoena.
Yeah. That's right. Well, beyond that, I think this administration should take the lead in being forthcoming about all of this. I would like to see them be more proactive about it. Get it all out there. Get it all out there now. If there's nothing to hide, in fact, what they're claiming is that this was incompetence, not that this was deliberate, then get all the information out there quickly and let's dispose of this once and for all. So if, in fact, there are email accounts like that out there and more like them, the administration should be proactive about getting these things out there as soon as possible.
Unless they don't like what's in them. Senator, you would not have been elected if it wasn't for the Tea Party. Do you believe, from your estimate, that if the Tea Party was hamstrung in 2010, it affected the election?
In 2010 or 12, I'm sorry?
12, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think a couple things. I mean, I wouldn't say that at the national level there might have been local places where some of these organizations that were trying to get going couldn't get going. And that was the intention here, by the way. If, in fact, this was done deliberately, you look at how this was applied. The big organizations, the big mega, PACs and so forth, many of them didn't go through these problems. And even if they did, they could afford to hire the best election lawyers in the country to navigate all this. It was the smaller and the mid-sized ones. The ones started in a small community by 50 people or 100 people. They're the ones that got put through the ringer here. And a lot of people, we don't know how many people just dropped out. Just said, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to start an organization. It's too hard to do it. And so we need to figure out whether that was done intentionally. But I think it's also a lesson in what happens when government gets too big. Big government doesn't hurt the big companies and the people who have made it. They may not like it, but they can afford to deal with it. It hurts the small and mid-sized companies, and in this case, the small and mid-sized political groups.
Well, you know what, Senator, in addition to having you on today, Laura Ingraham always joins us on Tuesday at this time, and she's joining us from not far from where you're standing. Hey, Laura, what do you make of this secret email thing that apparently is cooking right now in the administration?
Yeah, well, if we're waiting for President Obama to take the lead on this, I think we're going to have a very long wait. It begs the question. Why? I mean, the understanding is that they needed these secret email accounts because their official email was filled with a lot of extraneous email. It was overloaded with too much email. Well, isn't that what we all deal with in our everyday lives? I mean, it's ridiculous. Clearly, they want to make it more difficult for people to track what's going on behind closed doors. And Senator Rubio is exactly right. This demonstrates why big government initiatives, big government, big bureaucracy, these unwieldy administrative agencies have got to be shrunk. The spending has got to be tamed in Washington. And the people have to have a bird's eye view of what goes on behind closed doors, whether it's an issue that we're talking about now with the IRS, or frankly, issues like Senator Rubio deals with in immigration reform. We want sunlight to shine in. We want to know who's talking to whom. We want to know what deals are being cut. And we need to know. The public has a right to know. This country is in big trouble across the board, and we want real answers. And I'm glad we're on this topic today.
Right, and we'll get to immigration in just a bit, Laura. But Senator Rubio, I want to talk about Eric Holder ignoring congressional requests, and has actually had a staffer for the Department of Justice come forward and say that they do back what he is saying, that he did not indeed lie to Congress when he said that he wasn't sure about a potential prosecution against James Rosen. What do you make of all this?
Well, look, I called for his resignation a year ago after Fast and Furious. And what we need to understand about the Attorney General's job is it's the top law enforcement job in the country. So much of it depends on the credibility and the trust that people have in your willingness to do the job right. I just don't think Eric Holder has had that for quite a while, but he definitely no longer has that now. We saw reports yesterday that there apparently are people in the West Wing that would like to see him move on. I think it's time for Eric Holder to step aside, quite frankly, for the good of this president, because he, I think, can no longer effectively serve this president. He has people just simply don't have the confidence in what he's saying or doing anymore, and I think that's growing by the day. I think that's very important that the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America be someone that people have confidence in, that their ability to do the job in an impartial and fair way. And I just don't think that's there anymore when it comes to Mr. Holder.
All right, Lori, on your radio show, you had a big exclusive with Senator Isaacson regarding Mr. Holder. Here he is with Greta, repeating what he had said on your program. Listen to this.
And I voted for Eric Holder, but Eric Holder's actions since that time have proven that vote to have been wrong. In terms of Fast and Furious, in terms of not prosecuting voter intimidation in Philadelphia, in terms of what's happened in terms of the press here, he has just not proven himself to be worthy, in my judgment, of representing the President of the United States, you or me and the American people as Attorney General.
Laura, for him to say on your show and then later to Greta, the worst vote I've ever made, that's something.
Well, you know, it's refreshing when senators or congressmen or talk show hosts say when they're wrong about something, and it was refreshing, right? I mean, we all have great hopes that we're going to accomplish this or that, or Eric Holder will be a stand-up professional guy, and he's going to carry out his duties without regard to ideology or politics. But in the end, that didn't really happen. At least giving him the benefit of the doubt, the appearance of Eric Holder is at this point unseemly for most people around there. So, I mean, good for Senator Isaacson. We need more people to say, look, I had good intentions here, but made a mistake.
And Laura, I just want to say for the record, I would admit when I'm wrong if I'm ever wrong. I just
no,
have
that's
not
true,
been
Brian.
wrong yet.
No.
And just so you know. I would be willing
we're not
to.
as good as you there, Brian.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Senator, you're leading the charge, along with a couple other Republicans, a few other Republicans, on immigration reform through the Senate. It passed committee. When it goes, do you believe that immigration, as it looks right now, will have the 60 votes necessary to move to the House?
No, and I think even the Democrats would concede that. And there's a few reasons for it, but one of the things we've learned over the last few weeks through the open and process that it happened through the committee process and all the public input that we've gotten is how little confidence people have that the federal government will enforce the law. In essence, what people say to us is, we know we have to reform the legal immigration system. We know we have to deal with the 11 million people that are here illegally, but we're only willing to do that if we can make sure that this never, ever happens again. We don't want to be back here in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, dealing with another 5 or 10 million illegal immigrants. And so that's the key. And people don't trust the Department of Homeland Security to do the job or to come up with a plan that will do the job. So I think we'll have a lot of work to do in that regard if we actually even want to pass it out of the Senate. And I think the House has its own criteria that they're going to apply. So this is nowhere near being done. I'm optimistic that something good for our country can happen, but it needs to happen the right way. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on.
But if it's not done, Senator, why'd you vote for it? Why'd you vote for it out of committee?
Well, first of all, I wasn't on the committee, but let me just say that, so I didn't vote for it out of committee. Right. But listen, I worked on the drafting of it as a starting point. We always said that's what it was. And I think 90% of what's in that bill is stuff that's not controversial. We reformed the agricultural workers program. We reformed the programs with regards to high-tech visas, and we go away from a family-based immigration system to a merit-based immigration system. But there are parts of it that still need to be improved. That's the way the legislative process should work.
Well, I think look, I think Marco Rubio, if he were in charge, Marco, if you were in charge of enforcing the border, I wouldn't worry about it at all, okay? If that was you doing it down there, and if you were absolutely doing it. But people, you're right, have no faith in this border actually being enforced. They know that when Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and Bob Menendez are giddy over the passage of a bill, Republicans, conservatives, most people in the middle class who are seeing their wages stagnate or go down have something to worry about. So they're looking to you for leadership, Senator Rubio, and I can tell you from my radio listeners, they think it's time to stop dividing the Republican Party on this issue with all your good intentions, and I know you have them. You're a terrific person. But people want us to focus on jobs, the economy, and raising the middle class lifestyle and the wages here in this country before we start tackling an issue with this comprehensive approach, which I think we've seen from Janet Napolitano getting all this discretion, is a very, very tricky business.
Well, I think there's agreement about the discretion part, and that's what we're working on addressing. As far as immigration and the economy is concerned, it actually is linked to the economy. If you look at our legal immigration system, if we didn't have a single illegal immigrant, we'd still have to reform our legal immigration system because it is related to our business and our ability of our
do
economy
that
to
separately.
grow.
Right,
Well,
do it
the problem
separately.
is that they're all interrelated. If you look at one of the drivers of illegal immigration is that we don't have a legal immigration system that works, for example, for temporary or guest workers in the agricultural sector as an example.
It's not a top priority for this country.
If Janet Napolitano's in charge of it, I don't think you could possibly get it past the House.
All right.
Objective metrics. We need objective metrics, no wiggle room.
I would just remind everybody that the president, the good news is he'll only be president for the next 3.5 years, and that the longest she'll be around is that long. I hope they'll be replaced by people that are more serious about applying our laws and enforcing them, and that's what we intend to do in this bill. This bill is not a one-year deal or a 3-year thing. It is a 10-year process. There'll be another administration in charge of implementing this stuff, and our job is not just to leave it up to them, but to actually come up with specifics in that bill.
Senator, we know you and Laura are very busy. We thank you both for dropping by for the first 13 minutes of Fox and Friends this hour. Thank you.
There we go.